let's start sort of at the 30,000-foot level. If you could explain in layman's terms, because I think sometimes, most of America, me included, I put myself in the same category, we're kind of like raccoons now. We just start chasing the next shiny object. So when we start talking about immigration, particularly when we start throwing numbers out, I get the sense that a lot of people just tune out, right? It's just one of those things that they have a hard time. They hear about it, right, all the time, but they have a hard time really absorbing the information and understanding what it means on various levels. So if you could explain what this quiet amnesty is and why people should understand that it's important.
So most people who are in the United States who are removable can't be deported until after DHS gets an order of removal issued by an immigration judge. I know all about the process. I was a prosecutor and I was a judge for about 8 years. The first decision that the judge has to make is whether that person is in fact removable. And generally in about 95+% of cases, people just admit that they're removable because the only real question is whether they're eligible for what we call relief, something like asylum or a waiver, or some other immigration benefit that would allow them to remain in the United States. One of the things that the Biden-Harris administration has been doing from the beginning, literally the first minute of the administration, has been to restrict the ability of Immigration and Customs Enforcement to take enforcement action, to investigate, arrest, detain, prosecute, and deport removable aliens in the United States, to actually get those orders of removal that they need so that they can deport somebody. The Biden-Harris administration issued a memorandum in April of 2022 that directed the ICE attorneys, the people who represent the interests of Americans in immigration court, to take a kinder, softer, gentler tone toward the millions of removable aliens who are in immigration court, to not prosecute their cases, to dismiss them or terminate them, or to reopen them so that they could be terminated, people who are under final orders of removal who would receive their day in court. One of the things that we know from the Judiciary Committee report that they issued is that 700,000 plus cases have been either terminated or dismissed or closed in immigration court. These are individuals who are removable from the United States, who likely should be removed from the United States, but who are being allowed to remain in the United States indefinitely, many of them without any status here, simply because the Biden-Harris administration deems it important in the interest of equity to grant those individuals discretion.
Now, I think I'm probably going to oversimplify this, but part of my understanding was that the reasoning behind this was in part to save resources, saying, okay, look, we've got finite resources. We have to focus on the high priority cases. So let's take all the low priority cases and essentially we're going to take them and put them in a back drawer somewhere and forget about them, right? So we can focus on the high priority cases. I think one of my problems with that from a national security or law enforcement perspective is that we know from talking with CBP consistently, they don't have the ability to vet individuals. So the idea that somehow they're making an efficient, effective, educated decision on who's high priority and who is not, it falls apart at the very beginning because there's no real vetting process that's taking place. Am I wrong on that or somewhere near correct?
You're 100% correct. Take a look at the major populations of people that we've had coming to the United States. Venezuelans, Cubans, Nicaraguans, Haitians. 3 of those countries are socialist dictatorships that have no interest whatsoever in sharing any information about the criminal or terrorist intent of their nationals. The 4th one, Haiti, doesn't even have a government at all. There's no way for us to find out anything at all, whether that individual is involved in a gang, whether they have criminal charges, pending. whether they've committed murder or some other heinous crime in their home country. So when you talk about these large populations of people that the Biden-Harris administration is funneling into the United States by the tens of thousands monthly, there's really nothing that we know about them. And we only find out about them after the fact when they commit some horrible crime in the United States. And then we're always told, oh, well, this is an isolated incident. This is a one-off situation. But yeah, no, that's really the critical thing. And the whole, scarce resources, limited resources argument is a canard, because the Biden-Harris administration at the beginning, certainly for the first 3 years, wanted fewer immigration resources from Congress. They wanted less money for ICE. They wanted fewer detention beds. They wanted to basically strangle immigration enforcement. They wanted to defund ICE without defunding ICE. So what you're seeing in this report, 700,000 people, many of those people, Mike, they don't even have status in the United States. You're turning them out in the street, and they're still as removable as the day that they walked in to court to begin with. And this is going to make it much more difficult for any future administration to actually get what the vice president refers to as our broken immigration system back on track.
Yeah. Before the next question, I will encourage people who are watching. You've written a very, very good, informative piece, and it can be found on the Center for Immigration Studies website, where you kind of lay all of this out related to this quiet amnesty. You make a very interesting point, which is, hey, you've got a tremendous amount of experience, including serving as a judge, but you're saying, don't take my word for it. This is all backed up with DHS and their own statistics, and what they've already put out in the public forum. So, I guess because a lot of times I think this is one of those subjects that one side or the other just dismisses outright when they hear information that doesn't fit with where they want to be in their narrative. And they're just willing to say, that's partisan politics, and that's just, of course, that's a Republican speaking, or of course, that's a Democrat speaking. But as you note in this piece, again, on the Center for Immigration Studies, everybody should go and check this out. As you note in there, it's data that's available. People can find this. They can take the time to read it. It's just, again, we're all busy putting food on the table, and most people don't take the time.
Yeah, and transparency has been a big issue with this administration. Whenever they talk about their policies, they talk about how they're reasonable, how this is pure discretion. This is what every other administration has ever done. But if you read through my piece and you read through the Judiciary Committee report, you'll see that this is nothing like any administration has ever done. Generally, any given year, a handful of asylum cases, are dismissed because, there's some glitch in the system. And a lot of people don't show up for court. But just looking at the asylum completions that were done by immigration judges this year, more than half of them were never adjudicated. There's no question that each one of those individuals is removable. There's no question that none of them have status in the United States. And rather than adjudicating their decisions, giving asylums to the ones who deserve it, and ordering remove the ones who aren't, this administration has simply decided to turn them all loose, allow them to remain indefinitely in the United States, probably pending some ultimate amnesty that they've been pushing for, again, since the first day of this administration.